Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Got lots of Philippine related news for you today. American has been arrested, will be deported, ghost students, ghost projects, sex education in the Philippines, the weather, possible typhoon, cyclone in the next week or so, and lots of more news. So let's get into it. The first story coming out of Sunstar, American sex offender arrested in Manila. And Bureau of Immigration operatives have arrested an American national tagged as a registered sex offender in the United States during an operation in Manila, Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. He was apprehended along Rojas Boulevard in Ermita, which is in the Manila area. And anyway, if you have a felony in the U.S., I think Canada, I know years ago anyway, I was read that if you had a felony conviction in the USA, they would not let you into Canada. Not sure if that's still the case or not, because, some people have had way back decades ago, very minor felonies. Some of those things aren't considered felonies anymore. Not sure if Canada blocks that anymore or not. Anyway, he will undergo deportation proceedings. He will also be blacklisted from re-entering the Philippines. Philippine immigration laws prohibit the entry of foreign nationals convicted of crimes involving moral turpitude, including registered sex offenders. As part of its broader enforcement efforts, BI, Bureau of Immigration, reported deporting 1,422 foreigners in the first half of 2025 for various immigration violations, nearly double the 717 deported in the same period in 2024. One thing that has happened over the years, I've 3 trips in 10 years here in the Philippines. One thing that's happened here and around the world is the sharing of information between nations. And back in the old days, that was either non-existent or very slow process. But with digitization of so much information, more and more of that information is happening quite rapidly. So if you have some type of felony, whatever it is, in the U.S. or any country, I would suggest you contact the Philippine Embassy, the Bureau of Immigration, and find out if it's going to stop you from entering the Philippines rather than spending all that money on an airline ticket. Your felony might be minor enough that they would allow you to come in. The next story from Sunstar as well, NAIA, that's the main Ninoy Aquino International Airport in Manila. They're going to raise their fees starting September 14th, 2025. And I have a friend flying out in about a week, going back to the U.S. for a couple months. And I had to remind him to have some pesos when he arrives there. Otherwise, you have to go to an ATM to get some pesos cash to pay that. The terminal fee for international departing passengers will rise from 550 to 950 pesos, while the fee for domestic travelers will increase from 200 to 390. And that was a surprise first time. I was here just under 6 months and I flew back to the U.S. And fortunately, I had some pesos with me, but I was surprised. Didn't know anything about having to pay a fee. And this was like 9.5 years ago. But yeah, be aware that they're often, even for ferries, there's certain types of terminal fees. Ferries, it's usually very low, 25 pesos, 50 pesos, something like that. The next story has to do with ghost projects. Ghost students we'll get into a little later if I can find that article. DPWH engineer nabbed for 3.1 million peso bribe attempt on Batangas lawmaker. And there's been a lot of information in the news lately about ghost projects or infrastructure projects, flood projects that have been either poorly built or not built at all. And the government engineer was arrested in an entrapment operation after allegedly attempting to bribe Representative Leviste Batanga's first district with around 3.1 million in cash to stop a probe into anomalous projects in the district, according to Batangas police. And this development comes while the Department of Public Works and Highways is under congressional investigations for irregularities and corruption in flood control projects, where officials allegedly received kickbacks. We should not tolerate any corruption. We should demand projects at better quality and lower cost and obligate contractors to correct any deficiencies immediately without additional cost to the government. And that's one of the problems, is they just don't have enough inspectors who are going out, and or corruption gets involved in that whole thing. Leviste disclosed that his inspections in August uncovered flood control projects in his district that were poorly built, with structures collapsing under recent storms, even though they were constructed only in the last few years. And here's a look at some of that type of work here. And just, yeah, very, very, very poorly built. You bid a project, you know, it happens all over the world. I'm familiar with some of those types of things going on in the U.S. so many decades ago when I was involved with contractors and such, government contracts. Next story out of the Pagasa, the government weather forecasting agency. And this is the Philippines here. You can see it's raining, it's storming here. Got a number of general flood advisories off in many parts of the Philippines. In fact, I think about noon or early afternoon here in Cebu City, it started raining, and it's kind of been raining, sprinkling off and on the rest of the day. You've got a little bit of, I think this was a typhoon, cyclone, typhoon, you call them hurricanes in the West, in the U.S., affecting Vietnam right now, but it had some effect on I think on Luzon over here. Anyway, this is coming in like so many. They come in off the cold Pacific Ocean. They come in here. They hit the warmer Philippine Sea waters, and they can generate a lot stronger in even 24 hours or less sometimes, and turn into a typhoon, even a super typhoon. And this red line here is the Philippine area of responsibility. When they name a storm, a low pressure system storm out here, they give it an international name. The international bodies do, agencies. And when it crosses that line, the Philippines changes the name. So they will give it a different name. If it goes back out the other side, or oftentimes up to the north, it will go back to the international name. It causes some confusion, but that's the way it is. And this possibly, it's not a tropical storm yet, my understanding, but it could turn into one as it, like I said, as it hits more of the warm water here. It's hard to see the outline of the Philippines here, but here's Palawan over here. And I'm down in, gosh, I can't even see, eastern Samar, northern Samar. So I'm right about over here. This is Capiz, Guimaras, Negros, Bohol, Cebu. Okay, I'm right in this area here. General flood advisory, moderate. And yeah, Pagasa is one site. Another site that I really like is windy.com. Windy.com. It's a free app that you can download onto your phone, Apple or Android, on your laptop or your desktop. And yeah, just amazing how much information they put out. You can do a search here, and it will give you can use it all over the world. And you can do a search, and it will give you many days worth of forecast information. But yeah, weather weather radar, satellite, wind, which I have up there at the present time. I'm down here in Cebu City. Let's zoom out here a little bit. But yeah, weather radar, and I think I have it set that it'll even show lightning. So you can see the more rain up in this area, but we're getting rain. Satellite coverage. See what's going on. Rain and thunder. You can do temperature, clouds, waves, rain accumulation, thunderstorms. You can get into snowpack, and there's many more under this. This menu extends down, and you can get pollution and I think even high clouds if you're flying, high clouds, low clouds, medium clouds, visibility, icing, thermals, uh, clear air turbulence, pressures, the sea, swells, waves, swells, currents, just amazing. Tides and currents, tidal currents, which is pretty important. If I've got a friend who used to be a sailor and sailboats and that type of thing was very important to him. Air quality. Even I think there's one on fire, maybe down here, drought and fire danger, drought monitoring, weather warnings, extreme forecast, outdoor map. Just amazing the amount of information available there. Free app. I pay for the premium. Gosh, I don't know. It's not that much. 30, $40 a year, something like that. I think. But yeah, anybody puts out this much information, I like to support them financially, and I pay a little bit for the premium information. I get a little bit longer forecast. I get some additional information that I'm able to key in on as well. And down here, you've got different models, forecast models, the ECMWF, the GFS icon, and two more there, and lots of different adjustments you can make. You can put in airports, reported temperatures, webcams if there are any, active fires, which would be interesting as well. So far this year, gosh, it's almost the end of August, and we've had a very, very quiet typhoon season this year. And it was many, many, many months before we first had our first named tropical storm that came into the Philippine area of responsibility here. So it's been very quiet. Weather is not normal. It's very the opposite. 2015 when I came, the wet season was a drought. 4 years later, 2019, the wet season was a drought. 4 years later, 2023, the wet season was a drought. And with all the issues that come with droughts. And this story related, this story is from the Manila Bulletin. It used to be my favorite news source, but they've changed it a couple different ways over the years. They're improving it. I didn't like the way they changed it, so I didn't watch it for I think over a year. But they're doing a little bit better job. I wish they'd go back to the original Manila Bulletin. But anyway, this is what it is. There again, the red here is the Philippine area responsibility and tropical cyclone formation outlook. They've got it circled in red. And here it is. Here's the Philippines over here, and it's developing out here, and they say that it is a high chance of it forming into a cyclone. So you've got tropical depression, tropical storm, severe tropical storm, typhoon, and super typhoon are the various categories of storms here. The next story from Philstar Global Online. 73% of Filipinos support age-appropriate sex education, new poll finds. I'm not questioning any of these polls, but anytime I read about polls can be asked in such a way that you can get whatever answer you're looking for. And so oftentimes they're used to try to form opinion. But anyway, I'm sure this one was straight up And anyway, nearly 3 in 4 Filipinos support teaching age-appropriate, culturally sensitive lessons on sexuality, sexual health, and family planning in schools. A Pulse Asia survey commissioned by child rights advocates has found. Nationwide poll carried out in the last week of March during the campaign showed 73% of Filipinos agreed with the statement that such topics on sexuality and health should be taught in schools to help students make responsible choices, informed choices. 13% disagreed, 14% said they didn't have an opinion. And interesting, over the years, three trips, 10 years in the Philippines, and primarily in Cebu City. I've asked a number of people about uh, sex education, basically the same type of question. And it's interesting, some of the answers that I've gotten, but basically it was no, there was no sex education in school or at home or in churches, wherever. There was no sex education. And a couple of people said, I don't think it needs to be taught. It comes naturally. It comes naturally. So anyway, let's get down here. The sport was the strongest in Metro Manila, where 84% respondents agreed. Luzon, balance followed with Luzon 78%, while Mindanao recorded the lowest support at 67%. No class divide, that was interesting. Poll found stronger backing among respondents in socio-economic classes A, B, and C than among those in Class E. I presume this is the very poor. I'm not sure, but a majority of every socio-economic group said they supported teaching such subjects. All face. This is, and meanwhile, young adults aged 18 to 24 showed the highest support at 87%, while those aged 45 to 54 showed the least support at 66. And then among all faiths, support among all faiths, Roman Catholics, 86% of those polled matched the national average with 73% in favor of teaching sexuality. Of those, 31% strongly agreed, 42 somewhat agreed. So they broke it down a little more how strongly. Among Muslims, who made up 4% of the respondents, I think for about 5% of the population of the Philippines, primarily in Mindanao and South, but they're scattered throughout the Philippines. Support was slightly higher at 74%. And gives a little more details there. Members of Iglesia Ni Cristo, 3% of the sample recorded 70% support. The next story, riding in tandem hold-uppers in Manila killed 2 foreigners. And this is from a few days ago. And I think they have caught one of the hold-uppers. And riding in tandem means two people on a motorbike. And they are, that is the modus operandi when somebody gets assassinated. 2 people will ride up if they're guns for hire, whatever, and they ride up. The guy in the back gets out and steals whatever he's supposed to steal or shoots whoever he's supposed to shoot. Assassins for hire. There are a number of those types of groups around here. And anyway, I think these guys ended up being Japanese. They were initially described as either Korean or Japanese. I think they ended up being Japanese, I believe. And I think they saw another story, I believe, that they caught one of those guys. Here's a related story. Phil Starr online. DOT, Department of Tourism, denounces Manila shooting that killed 2 foreign nationals. And on August 19th, 2 Japanese nationals were gunned down by riding in tandem assailants along Malvar Street in Manila. Footage showed a taxi stopping and the victims alighting. Reports of the barangay CCTV footage showed a taxi stopping and the victims alighting, after which a commotion broke out. Bystanders fled and the two victims were shot. So I think the victims got out of a taxi was what happened there. And yeah, tourism, this type of thing obviously affects tourism. How many people read this, see it happens, and they cancel their flights coming here. On Monday, August 18th, reports said the MPD has confirmed that they are holding two persons of interest in the fatal shooting of the two foreign nationals. I found this article interesting from Interaction. Teenagers no longer answer the phone. Is it a lack of manners or a new trend? My opinion, since I've been here, almost nobody calls, and not just teenagers. Everybody that I've known, we use texts and messengers, various messenger apps, and very rare that anybody calls anyone. And I've got one friend. I've got a number of friends. Almost all the time we just message each other. I've got one that will occasionally call. We'll discuss something. But yeah, it's not just teenagers. I think it's messaging. So it's yeah. I don't. It probably isn't a good thing. But we get together and talk. We don't talk on the phone, but we do get together and chat. What is always bizarre to me, and probably many of you, you see a family or a group of friends sitting in a restaurant all together or sitting in a park or wherever, and they're all there and nobody's talking. They're all on their phones. And even my girlfriend, a number of times, has said, "Are you texting me?" Or, well, I'm right here beside you. You can talk to me. It's just crazy what has happened with communication these days. Next story about these poorly built infrastructure projects. President Marcos slams Subpar 264 million peso Kenan rock shed. And this is built in an area that has potential rock slides, and it's built to try to protect the travelers. Anyway, during recent rains, washed off a lot of this type of area, so it pretty much is useless. And the story goes into liking the funding of a subpar flood control project to throwing money into a river. President Marcos yesterday inspected what he described as problematic projects in Benguet as he vowed to sustain his crackdown on anomalous deals. And yeah, anyway, that type of thing. There are so many projects in 10 years I've been here. I've seen so many projects that have been planned and delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. And you just you wonder where the money went. Why the delays? And this will probably be the last story. Department of Education SHS voucher anomaly reaches 100 million pesos. And talk about ghost students receiving. Education Secretary Sonny Angara yesterday said that the voucher anomaly involving ghost beneficiaries under the senior high school voucher program has reached 100 million pesos, adding that the Department of Education continues to investigate the scheme. The money involved is not only 65 million, it's bigger. It reached 100 million and our investigation continues. So yeah, somebody is defrauding the government. You bring on ghost students. You get a government voucher to help pay for those ghost students. I mean, it happens in governments. You you've got a budget. You claim you've got 100 employees. Maybe you have 50. Maybe you have 70. Maybe you have 30. But you get the funding for 100, and then you find a creative way for that extra money to disappear into your bank account. Down here, the Department of Education has demanded refunds from 54 private schools flagged for anomalies in voucher program claims for school years 2021 to 2023. Wow, 54 schools. 38 have fully refunded the government. 2 have made partial payments, and 14 have yet to return the funds. One more story. LTO summons driver who berated MMDA enforcer, and land transportation, that's like the DMV and the USA. Land Transportation Office has issued a social cause order to the registered owner of a van whose driver allegedly berated a traffic enforcer and name dropped a Metropolitan Manila Development Authority official during a confrontation. And once we establish the identity of the driver, find out if she has a driver's license, it will be subject to a 90-day suspension. If she doesn't have a license, or if it's expired, it's a bigger problem. It's alleged the driver attempted to cut the line of vehicles and was stopped by a traffic enforcer. That happens all the time. It happens all the time, and it'll make your blood boil if you're the type who gets upset in traffic. The driver reportedly tried to intimidate the enforcer by invoking the name of an MMDA official, resulting in obstruction of traffic. You know, I knew a Filipina. She owned a restaurant, resto bar, years and years ago, and I know this is many years ago. And I know she said she got stopped one time by a traffic enforcer, and she name dropped her one of her uncles is a judge. She name dropped, and she was upset that she still got the ticket, and she had to go. She showed up in court to wherever to pay the fine and try to get out of having to go through driver school, something like that. But yeah, you know, it's over the 10 years I've been here, I've seen more and more people get caught doing foolish things, more and more corruption. Corruption here in the Philippines is much more out in the open than it is in many parts of the world, but it's it happens all over the world. Corruption. I've seen in the USA many different things that I was involved in and or was able to observe, and it's just much better hidden in the USA than it is here in the Philippines. But anyway, we'll end it there. Looking forward to your comments, and safe travels to all you who are traveling, and we'll see you in the next video.